The Detroit Lions beat the hottest team in the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys, 44-30. That was an awesome Thursday night game. Make no mistake about it. I wish I was able to live stream it, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to. That was a great game. That was a great game. I mean, it's just interesting because people did not like my take going into that game, specifically about the Dallas Cowboys. And they were like, "You're moving the goalpost. You're moving the goalpost. Just wait until Dallas wins." And it's like, well, what happens when Dallas loses 44-30 then? Like, I don't know what to tell you. But in all seriousness, I think Dak's box score is a lot bit misleading here. I think he actually played pretty well. Again, this is another great example of why you really got to watch this game. Obviously, losing CD was pretty devastating for him. I think both interceptions, you can't really credit him for them, especially the last one to end the game. The first one, you could maybe blame him. I don't know. You could say like maybe it wasn't the best decision to throw, but I think that's just both handshake moments for the defense, honestly. And then so shout out to the Detroit Lions defense to forcing those turnovers. Like on one side, their defense was getting torched a bit at times, and a handful of key penalties that really helped Dallas out, but then also at the same time generating a ton of pressure on Dak, obviously 5 sacks for 50 yards and 2 turnovers. So, all in all, I think a really good defensive performance, but also got gashed a handful of times as well. And this is what I was saying, that everyone kept saying, "Oh, you can't run on this team. You can't run on this team." And I said, listen, they played the Eagles, who have been struggling to run. They beat the Raiders, who have been struggling to run. And then the Chiefs had success for the most part. And so I was just like, you can't just automatically use that narrow sample size as just this like automatic, here you go moment for this Cowboys defense. Although the defense is clearly better than it had been earlier on in the season, but people were acting like this defense now is just this unstoppable force. And they had 4 rushing touchdowns. David Montgomery, 6 carries for 60. Gibbs was just a monster. I know it looks almost kind of limited here. 12 carries for 53 yards, 3.6 yards per carry. But, he was a monster. Gibbs is a monster. 7 receptions for 77. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, everyone getting involved there. I thought it was beautiful play calling, and I've been hypercritical of the Detroit Lions play calling. No matter who's calling the plays, Dan Campbell, Johnny Watson, I don't care who it is. It's been, I haven't loved it. This game, I thought it was brilliant. The pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown to effectively ice the game, brilliant. And then the play call for the Gibbs touchdown, brilliant. And brilliant execution. And Goff shined so tremendously. This was a perfect game as to why watching the game matters so much, because I think Dak played great. Dak really did play really, really great. He had the benefit of some great receivers, open receivers, some easy moments. Jared Goff's ball placement in this game was absolutely, positively spectacular. This is because I always say Yak is a coaching stat, and I stand by that. You still have to deliver the ball accurately and in a way where they can continue to run, but I do see it more as a scheme, or the receiver or tight end or running back, whoever it may be, their ability to like Tyreek Hill, right, making people just be lightning quick and stuff like that, and Gibbs shaking people like that one play where I forget who he broke the ankles of, but you can see that's not really necessary on the quarterback. Jared Goff's ball placement and getting these guys on the run, this is an example of why people would say, no, it's a quarterback stat. Patrick Mahomes deserves more credit for the yak or whatever, that I always push up against. This is an example of counter that, to be like, look at this. I mean, I thought it was breathtaking. And that's why not all yards are created equally. Not all passer ratings are created equally. I thought this was an absolute brilliant game by Jared Goff. So impressive. And this is another game that, if someone says so-and-so is a good passer too, and it's just like, no, this is great passing. This is great passing. I thought Goff's ball placement, decision making, I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. I really did. I was just, this is just, anyone who was like, oh, Jared Goff's not that. I mean, like, this is brilliant. I can't say enough positive things about what I saw out of Jared Goff. And I'm not saying that Jared Goff put the team on his back and this or that. Like, this is a team sport, and the Lions have always really been a beautiful example of that, with all the pieces that they have, with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Montgomery, Gibbs, Williamson, Williams, etc. But like, just watching Jared Goff distribute the ball in the ways that he was, I just thought it was great. But then also the play calling and the play designs to constantly get these guys the ball as they're seemingly running at full speed. It really is poetry in motion. It's just beautiful. If you're a football nerd watching some of those plays unfold, it's just the way how they're able to deliver the ball with some of these guys, like, seemingly running at just absolute full speed ahead, get the ball and be able to go. It's incredible. It's just incredible to watch. I mean, it really is. So I guess, really you can show an example of this is why coaching and ball placement combined together with players like an Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jameson or Gibbs, of course, as to why, it's just, just is a difference between winning and losing, right? It's why, yeah, I could point to Philadelphia Eagles fans and be like, this is the problem with the passing game. Like, do you see this? Do you see how they're able to get the ball in their playmakers' hands in ways that can then lead to bigger plays, right? Like allowing Jared Goff to distribute, et cetera, et cetera. I thought some of even the run plays, the run designs were beautifully well done. Same thing for the Cowboys as well. I'm trying to think of what was the one. Maybe it wasn't Malik Davis. I forget now. It might have went down as technically a pass in one of these. But they both had some. They were essentially runs, but they might go down the books as receptions. I didn't get a chance to take as comprehensive notes for this game as I normally would have liked to. Yeah, I really thought this was, even though the Lions obviously won this game quite convincingly and for the most part controlled the game start to finish. I wouldn't, if I'm looking at this from the Dallas Cowboys lens, I don't see this as like, we're not good enough. This was a bad game. We lost by 2 touchdowns. We lost by 14. That's a healthy loss, right? Some people consider that a blowout. This game really didn't feel like a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. This game didn't necessarily feel like the Detroit Lions were, that the Dallas Cowboys were outmatched by the Detroit Lions. That's not the feel that I got. I do think that this was a competitive game, and I do think that if the Cowboys weren't obviously in such a tough situation with their record and trying to get into the playoffs, I don't think you would feel so terrible. If this was just a loss that you could just endure and it not matter too much, I don't think this would have been a game that I would be like, oh, see, the Cowboys can't be any great team in this. Like again, that was my take going into the season. That's why I keep repeating it, is that like this would be a perfect opportunity for me to come out here and just be like, see, this is proof the Cowboys can only beat struggling teams that are not that good, blah 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 blah. And like, I don't see that in this game. I think a couple of those interceptions, whether you want to say it was just again, handshake moment for the Detroit Lions defense or fluky, whatever it is, it's just like they're just tough ones, right? I just think it's just just a tough spot for them. And then of course, then losing CeeDee Lamb is a big one, right? I mean, I forget exactly when he went out. I think it was the third quarter. But he had 6 catches for 121 yards, right? Like, he was torching them. He had an unbelievable catch right before he got injured. That was like a flag, but then it was declined for the pass interference. But I mean, and Ferguson stepping up 5 catches for 58. Like, it is kind of interesting to look at a game like this and just think like, wow, the Cowboys got rolled, though not really. And yet, like, I think they played pretty well. I thought their 2-minute offense, which started 6 minutes left, like, I thought was great. And I know a lot of people are going to be concerned about the penalty call about that. I think at the end of the day, that it should have been probably a no call, most likely. I know Cowboys fans are going to say, oh, that should have been interference or whatever. And, you have an argument, but I think at that point of the game, it makes sense that it would be a no call. And it effectively was a no call because you're going to decline that penalty. But I understand why Cowboys would be pretty upset about it. I think there's also the argument that there should have been, the whole safety thing. Like there was a handful of calls that I feel as though could have gone either way. But yeah, I could see everyone a little upset about that. So I'll let you all discuss that. But I'm not so sure that it's one thing if that was going to be a touchdown to like tie the game or something, then I could understand. But the way how the Lions offense was looking, even if you did cut it down to just a field goal, the fact that the Lions then were able to march right down the field and score again, you poke some holes in the sail of that blew the game for us, right? It hurt you, no doubt, but I just don't think you could say if you lost by 3 now or something, then I could understand. Then I could honestly understand, but because of how good that Lions offense was, the play calling, the decision making, the execution, I just think that you lose that argument a little bit more. You'd have a better argument if you didn't end up losing by 14. Is ultimately what I'm trying to say here. But yeah, it's tough. It's funny. If this was week 5, week 6 or something, and again, everybody's playoff hopes were just as rich and you had a long path ahead of you, my conclusion really would be that both teams should feel great and kind of not so, should also be like, we got some things we got to clean up right now. Cowboys defensively, the Lions defensively as well, even though they had some great plays, pressures, etc., etc. But I mean, I think this was a pretty high-powered offensive game that just had a lot of action. That there was no shortage of big plays, and the Lions just were able to execute a lot more cleanly. Didn't have any bad bounces outside of the blocked the blocked field goal. Outside of that, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, really tough loss for Detroit. Not for Detroit. It was a great win for Detroit. Tough loss for Dak and the Dallas Cowboys. They're still in it. Like Nick kind of highlighted, and I think pretty well. Their objective is to win. The Cowboys are in a position where they can win out now. This was seemingly their hardest game on the schedule. And then the Eagles, I think, have to drop 2, and then it all comes down to the final game against that Commanders team in the final game of the season. And then I don't know exactly then what the tiebreaker is then for that. I think it would then be you have head-to-head, which then they would split, and then you have I think it's conference record then is how that works. So I don't know then who would win that tiebreaker, but obviously we have you have to wait to see. But I don't think it's obviously completely over for the Cowboys, but they burned their loss. They burned their loss against the team that was clearly going to be the hardest team to beat in this situation. Although we'll see how the Chargers end up looking. But it's not like the Eagles have been playing great either. So I still think there's plenty to fight for Dak and this Cowboys team. I don't think that this is officially marks the end of this season for them, but obviously a really tough loss, and a win here would have gone a long way, obviously. As you saw, they showed us this throughout the entire broadcast, right? If they win, they have like a 55% chance to make the playoffs. If they lose, it goes down to 9%, and then you really are truly at the mercy of the Philadelphia Eagles of sticking the landing in their collapse, which is on the table. It's absolutely on the table, and they have some tough games. The Chargers, the Bills. They have another tough game too. I can't think off the top of my head. They have to play the Commanders twice, which could be a tough game for them, considering even just whether it's Marcus Mariota or Jaden Daniels. Like, that team still clearly wants to fight and get after it, and they certainly want to beat up on the Eagles. They want some revenge for how things went down last season, so I don't think they're going to roll over. And now Jalen Carter's banged up. He got, I don't know, procedures done on both his shoulders or something, so he's not even playing against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. So, I still think the door is open. And it's still a lot of fighting for the Detroit Lions. And we'll talk about this, obviously, all more on, I almost said on Monday, on Friday. Just want to get this video out as quickly as I can. So those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Detroit Lions taking down the Dallas Cowboys 44-30 in a great game? I love this game, honestly. I thought it had a lot. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.